Hi, thanks for joining again. Today, I want to talk about how to double your home's value. And first, I think we should talk about what home values are and how to find out what's your true value. So, quick story. I had heard this number 40% for Zestimates. I think everyone knows what a Zestimate is today, right? So I had heard in the real estate community for a lot of years now, Zestimates can be off by up to 40%, or they can be swing in one way or the other by 40%. So where did that come from? Well, interestingly enough, the CEO of Zillow back in 2016 sold his own house for 40% less than what the Zestimate said the CEO's house was worth. So why are Zestimates so off sometimes? Zestimates really are algorithms. So from what I understand, the Zestimates are just some kind of computer algorithm that's comparing your house to what's surrounding it. So in just a comparison of math can't take into account personal preferences. Math can't take into account upgrades, right? The Zestimate doesn't know the upgrades you've done in your home, or it doesn't know the upgrades your neighbor has done, but you haven't. It doesn't know that there was a brand new house built down the street from you, but your house is 50 years old. It doesn't account for the addition you did on your house because maybe that hasn't been recorded in public records. So the algorithm doesn't know about that. The algorithm doesn't know anything about the neighborhood. It doesn't know anything about jobs that are coming in, jobs that are leaving. The algorithm doesn't know if your town is growing or in a recession. So that's why it's important to get the true value of your home and not just the value from an algorithm. Personally, I believe that as an agent, I feel I've always been a little bit better than appraisers in our area at this for some of the same reasons that Zestimates aren't as good. And that's why I feel that as a real estate agent, I'm better at giving an estimate of what your house is worth than even an appraiser is. Now, my opinion is not a certified appraisal opinion, but in reality, what good is an appraiser's opinion other than when it's going through the bank process that the bank will accept it? Otherwise, if an appraiser says your house is worth X amount of money and you can't ever find a buyer to pay that value number, then is it really worth that? Or is it worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it? See, that's what I think the house is really worth. In the eyes of a buyer, what will they pay for your house? What I've found is appraisers, no offense, male agents that I'm competing with, but appraisers are usually more often men as well. And they don't think about the things that a woman thinks about. I mean, how many home buyers are decided by the woman of the house? See, most of the time it's the woman of the house that decides to buy the house or that likes the house. So if you have a lot of features that appeal to the woman of the house, I think that your house is going to sell for more. Or if you have a lot of wow factors, the appraiser probably isn't going to take that into effect. Or if you're missing a lot of wow factors, that your neighbor had those things, but because you don't, you're not going to get the same amount for your house that your neighbor did, even though the appraiser will say it's worth the same. So how do I understand your true value? I just happened to have an appointment with somebody this past Tuesday and gave them enough information that by the end of our meeting, they had the same number in mind that I was going to suggest to them. One of my favorite sayings in real estate is it's a beauty contest and a price war. And even when the market's hot, even when there are 6 offers per property, it's still a beauty contest and a price war. So if it's a price war, let's make it a war in your favor as the seller and let's get the bidding up. How can we do that? So you've probably heard the term running comps or a comparative market analysis, or would you like a free market analysis? A lot of people offer that. So let me tell you what I look at to decide the value of someone's home. I want to find comparable sales. So when I look at this, I don't just look at past sales. First, we'll look close in the neighborhood. Let's see what houses sold in the area. So I recently went on an appointment where all the bedrooms were upstairs, but in that neighborhood, neighborhood, there were a bunch of ranch houses. And so we know ranch houses typically sell for more than houses where the bedrooms are all located upstairs. So I knew we needed to keep going with the comps in order to determine what this house is going to sell for. I try to find similar houses that have sold recently, and appraisers typically only go back 6 months, maybe a year if it's in a more rural development. But I actually, when I know what the market is, there's times where the market just keeps going up and up and up. So I know if I look at the comps, then I can go ahead and give it some grace and raise it up a little bit by the comps. Or when I know, okay, the last 2 years, prices have been pretty steady. We had that growth 4 years ago and 3 years ago, and for the last 2 years, it's been kind of about the same. So I can actually go back 2 years and see what the comps are doing. The next thing I do is I look at the pending sales, what similar houses are under contract right now. Then I consider the condition. So is this house in bad condition, good condition, great condition? So does it have a lot of upgrades? Does it have a lot of wow factors? So then I'm going to take the condition of the house and I'm going to compare it to all the comps we have. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the currently active and coming soon. So what is our competition? If you want to sell first, how do we beat all the competition? Can we price it just a little bit better so we get all the buyers? Is there no competition and we can kind of push the comps up and try to set a new record? Is it going to bring in a lot of people? Are we going to have to price it low and try to get so many offers that that's the way to bring in the best price? So I really think about all these things to know where the value is and what to do. There was another appointment I went on recently where all the listings in the past 2 years in their neighborhood, when they listed at $550, the house sold really quickly. It sold in 2 weeks and they got a great price. But there were a couple houses that were extremely similar to this one, and they tried that higher price strategy, but they did it exceedingly too much. Instead of being priced at $550 or $570 or $560, they tried $600, and that was too much. And so they ended up doing 2 price reductions. It taken over 40 days both times, and they actually probably sold for less than what they would have gotten if they had just priced it where the comps were staying at $550. So I think it's important to have an experienced agent be able to go through these things with you, take the time. The other thing I look at is, let's just say we're in a recession. We know with what's currently going on there, I've seen a lot of reports in Washington, D.C. and that area that there's a lot of houses that have been hitting the market. And so when I started in real estate, there was also an oversupply of inventory. And so what neighbors had to do if they wanted to sell first, they had to actually reduce far enough. Like it was almost in anticipation. Like, let's see, this week you need to reduce this much. Next week, it'll be that much. So let's just go ahead and do that much so you can get the number you're looking for. So we call that chasing the market. And that's exactly what you never want to do. If you have a great agent and you trust them and they're giving you great advice, that is the position you never want to be in or to have to face, is chasing the market. So one of the factors in getting the most amount for your home is simply the timing. I'm here in the Northeast, and we know people don't shop as much during winter. There are always people in the market looking to buy, and there are always people that need to sell. So houses sell year round. Every month, houses go pending. But sometimes the inventory goes way up and sales go way up. And at times, inventory goes down and sales go way down. Timing can be everything. And again, this factor also includes, it's a beauty contest and a price war. So if you're the only house in a great neighborhood, if you're the only house in your area, we don't refer to it as season. A good friend in Florida, she calls it season. They sell in season. They sell pre-season. So during the winter months, they're actually selling more houses. And for us, our season's a little bit different, but she'll say pre-season. So I actually think that pre-season may be one of the best times to sell. The reason is there's not people already starting to look. They start looking early because if people are wanting to move over the summer, they don't want to wait till the last minute. They only have a short window to move if it's the school season or it's just better weather and they want to move during better weather. So what I would recommend is during the preseason, consider what is on the market similar to yours. If you're the only house that will be out there, then I think that is one of the best times to sell. The other factor is the days of the week. So what day should your house go on the market? Should you do a coming soon? What day should your home go active? I think All these factors can play a role in how much you get for your house. Also, if you are lucky enough or strategically price well enough to put yourself into a position to get a bidding war, then I would also consider when the cutoff is for that bidding war. I see a mistake that I feel like a lot of fellow agents do, and if they're in my marketplace, please don't share this with them. But the mistake I see that they make is they put a deadline on offers on the weekend. And the problem with that is that not everybody's ready over the weekend to make an offer. If you give people just a little bit more time to make the offer after they've seen the house, to give them time to talk to their mortgage broker or their bank, I think Mondays or Tuesdays are one of the best days if you've had weekend showings and lots of offers coming in to set a deadline for that Monday or Tuesday. It also gives incentive. If somebody really, really wants the house, they may make an offer so strong and so obnoxiously above all the other ones that they give you a cutoff and they say, look, take my offer. I don't want to compete with all these people. I just want to know. I don't want the anxiety of waiting. Just take my offer and let's get this deal done. So the timing is important of maximizing the value of your home. And if you give people that Monday or Tuesday when the agents are normally working instead of the weekend and the staff that they have may be working to help them put the offer together and the mortgage bankers are working instead of trying to have their weekend with their family, then I think you'll receive more offers. So let's talk about competitively if you were coming to market or how to showcase your home in the best way. So number one is the quality of the photography. So when I first started my career, I got a very good quality camera with the lens that all the real estate photography recommended. However, my editing falls short. When I look back at those pictures, now we always have professional photographers take our photos and we never do it in-house anymore. So I think professional photography is so important. The other thing is the order of the pictures. We know people's attention span is shorter than ever. And so if you're still with me, I appreciate you. The order of the photos makes a difference. You want to capture their attention and make them want to see more. I always think the photos are there to get them interested to come and see the house in person. So another thing that I see that I feel is a mistake is documenting the house. I heard another great agent say this: don't document the house. You want to show the sales features. What made you buy the house? What do you love about the house? What do you enjoy? What room do you enjoy? What outside area do you enjoy? What features and benefits? Sometimes even taking a photo of the features and benefits is great. And sometimes it's documenting. So you really have to know, or the agent really has to know what they're doing and really showcase that. The other thing I think is important is story selling. Does your house have a story? What is the story you would tell about your house? What do you love about it? Here is where to put all those things. A great agent is going to ask you, what do you love about your home? What made you buy it? What upgrades have you done? Even with the upgrades, I think if you've spent money in upgrades, you should get some or potentially all of that money back. So good marketing will showcase your upgrades. It might not be the right place to put it in the photos, but in the description, in a features page, on the disclosure statement, that can help you maximize your money on your house. So action steps. So if you want to know what your home's value is worth, one of the best things to do is contact an agent. And if you need help, please reach out to me, even if you're not in my marketplace. A couple of the things I do is I have a system that's similar to Zillow, but it offers more to the client. So it actually shows them what is taking place on a monthly basis. It gives them an update. Have you ever wondered, what did my neighbor's house sell for? And so often we can see what it's ending at, but once it closes, it's a little bit harder to get that data. And so a couple of things I do is I'll set my clients up on an auto search where it actually sends them the data on the closed houses that are in their area, or I set them up on our system that gives them an update on a monthly basis so they can keep an eye on what their home is worth. All right, so years ago, I had a referral from a past client to this couple, and they had this house they were fixing up, and they just kept fixing it up and kept fixing it up, and I'd call and I offered over and over again to come by and take a look at it. or to give any pointers. And they just never would let me. They're like, no, we want to get this stuff done and then you can come by. So when I finally came by, they had pulled all the trim down. They had pulled the crown molding down. They had pulled all the trim down. They had replaced the fans. They had replaced all these things that wouldn't really help their house sell for more money. There were so many things that I could have recommended for the amount of money they spent doing things that were essentially worthless in the end. And so it was disappointing on both our parts that we had been in touch for so long and that, it was what it was. I couldn't help them at that time. They had already done it. They'd already spent the money. In all honesty, it was wasted money and they did a lot of the work themselves. They did a good job with that. But that was a lot of sweat equity that didn't turn out to be equity. If you're going to sweat, if you're going to spend the money, it's best to make sure those upgrades are going to be worth it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if I can ever help you, feel free to reach out. Have a good day.